Hey, it's Jay, and it's time for me to take on the latest horror comedy that's out there in the film industry. Ready or not, I have a lot to say about this film, so let's get into the plot. So, the wealthy Les Domas family has a tradition that if anybody new is added to the family, like say I was a Les Domas and my wife, wanted to join the family, we'd have to play a game since they gain their fortune from making playing cards and all that. So they're playing hide and seek, and two young boys who aren't disclosed yet are witnessing the new groom to one of their family members being chased down and seemingly murdered off camera when they're playing a game of hide and seek. So it's very strange as to what's going on here, but I'll dive into why that opening scene happened as we get on to the plot. So, 30 years later, it is revealed that one of the boys is named Alex Les Domas, played by Mark O'Brien, and he is now marrying a woman named Grace, played by Samara Weaving, and Alex, my apologies, is estranged from his family. He doesn't want anything to do with them, and he feels like maybe this will finally connect them. They both, on both sides, his family thinks that with this new wife of his, they'll finally connect on, a level that hasn't been there for years. So after the wedding ceremony at their big mansion, it's time to play a game, and Grace has to draw a card. And it could be any game from backgammon to chess, anything you want, name it. There's one card, however, that nobody wants to draw, and that's hide and seek. I think you can guess where this is going. And Grace unfortunately pulls hide and seek. And the thing with hide and seek with the Les Domas family is they believe that if they do not sacrifice another person before dawn, a curse that was placed on their family will enact and they will all die. So now that Grace has pulled hide and seek, the hunt is on to try to find Grace and slaughter her, to sacrifice her, I should say. And of course, Alex isn't very happy about this because this is a woman who gave him humanity after everything his family has done in the past with this sick tradition of, sacrificing a soul to this unknown entity. So Alex is against this like mad. So some other key players that are participating in this game of hide and seek are Alex's brother Daniel, played by Adam Brody, Alex's father Tony Les Domas, played by Henry Czerny, and Becky Les Domas, Henry's wife, played by Andy McDowell, and also Aunt Helene, played by Nikki Guadagni, I think that's how you say it. I apologize if I butchered that. And there's a couple other ones, but they're not as important. Like, hang on, I completely forgot who the other ones are. Daniel's wife, Charity, Alex's sister, Emily, and Emily's wife, Fitch Bradley. Those are some other players. I couldn't remember their names, sorry. So they're all playing too. And the reason why this tradition is the way it is because Tony's grandfather made a deal with a man named Mr. LaBelle. Here's one of my gripes with the movie coming up very soon. And they made a deal saying that if you can have your fortune, but you need to perform this tradition every time someone pulls the hide and seek card. And so that's why they're doing what they're doing with all the new family members of the Les Domas family. So after Grace goes to hide, because she, at this point, obviously, no one's going to be like, oh, okay, so go hide and we're going to try to kill you, okay? No, she goes off to hide because she thinks this is a harmless game. And everyone arms themselves with swords, crossbows, guns, and she goes off to hide. And Alex is locked in the room, because, of course, he's going to try to interfere, but he's able to sneak out through some of the butler corridors that are, scattered throughout this mansion, and is able to find Grace and pretty much tell her this isn't really a game. And they witness Emily, who's this psychopath drug addict, kill one of the maids by accident, even though she looks nothing like Grace. This is probably one of the only good jokes in the movie, but even that they kind of ruin. But I'll get to that, after the plot. So Alex informs Grace of all this tradition crap with hide and seek. And of course, she's not very happy that this wasn't told to her in the first place. Alex did try to kind of warn her at the beginning of the film, like, this is your chance. We could just kind of like leave and not do this whole ceremony and just elope and be on our own. You sure you don't want out of this family because they're twisted people? But you're not wanting to disappoint. She of course says, no, we'll go through with this. So of course she's very, very upset about it, and the reason why Alex didn't tell her about it is because he was afraid that she was going to leave her if he did tell her about it. Understandably so, but jeez Louise, that's a hell of a bomb to drop on your now wife. And so he instructs her to head to the kitchen while he heads to the security room, because what they do is they lock all the doors so no one can escape. And Alex is going to go to the security room to turn the cameras back on and to disarm the security and have the doors be open so that Grace can escape. By the way, Tony's grandfather is named Victor Delamas. That's who made the deal with Mr. LaBelle. So obviously Alex isn't all for this, whole murdering his wife, and so he's trying his best to get her out of the house. He then has to go up against his family, who's trying desperately to stop him from letting her escape, because of course they're all under the assumption that they're going to die if they do not kill Grace by sunrise. And they're able to subdue him and capture him for his betrayal. And Grace is actually able to leave the house after barely eluding the house's butler, Stevens. So a third maid is now killed by Emily. The second maid wasn't killed by Emily. She was inadvertently murdered in the dumbwaiter, but that's beside the point. So a third maid is now killed by Emily, and Grace has escaped. Stevens informs the family she's escaped, but he promises to capture her. A bunch of stuff happens. She gets shot in the hand by Emily's son, George, who really wants to join in on this whole tradition because he wants to be part of the family too. Shoots her in the hand. She falls into the trap door where all the dead bodies go of all the past hide and seek victims, as well as the now mutilated maids. And she gets cut in the back by the fence trying to escape. She tries to flag down a car, but like in every horror movie, nobody stops. And Stevens tracks her down in the woods, and she briefly incapacitates him and drives off. However, the car has been reported stolen, so it gets remotely shut down. And this allows Stevens to tranquilize her and capture her and bring her back to the family. So all is looking good for the Ledomas' family, because it seems like they're going to get their sacrifice after all. So as Stevens is driving with Grace and they're all celebrating, they get a little too cocky and don't realize that Grace is awake, and she kind of knocks him out and he crashes the car, and now Stevens is dead. Unfortunately, she is cornered by Daniel, who, not wanting to let his family die, he doesn't want to kill Grace, he doesn't want to be part of this, but he also doesn't want to let his whole family die. If this, we all die at sunrise if we don't sacrifice this person thing is true. And so he incapacitates Grace yet again, and they capture her. But just as they're about to perform the ceremony where they do drink from a cup of wine, Daniel has non-lethally poisoned the wine, so they all start vomiting blood because he does believe that his family deserves to die. And he gets Grace off the table to try to give her, a little bit of a head start to get out of the house. So Alex finally escapes captivity, and Daniel is shot and killed by his own wife. She thinks that he doesn't care if she does die, and that's why he's helping Grace leave. And so Daniel's now dead, and Alex believes that Grace killed Daniel and his mother, which Grace did kill his mother by beating her to death with a box that she drew the hide-and-seek card with after a fight breaks out between those two. And realizing that you're probably not going to want to be with me after this, Alex gives in to his family's wishes and calls them in and incapacitates her yet again so they can perform the ritual. This is like the 5th time they've tried to perform the ritual with Grace, so it gets a little repetitive. So now it looks like they're finally going to get to give their sacrifice to Mr. LaBelle. So after the 9,000th attempt to try to kill Grace, she escapes yet again, and Aunt Helene informs the family that it is now sunrise. And they're all freaking out. And nothing happens. And then, one by one, they all start to die. Including Alex, who's begging Grace to forgive him, and then he finally blows up after Grace says, I want a divorce. And as the house is burning down, Grace briefly sees Mr. LaBelle in the chair, who gives a nod of approval, because, like, wow, you survived. Good for you. And as the house is burning behind them, fades to black, and all Grace can say when a first responder says, are you alright? All she says is, in-laws. And that's Ready or Not. Now, while this film is harmless enough, they do so many things wrong that could have made this film so much better. The only real character that I felt was remotely funny, sorry, I just gotta look up his name again, I completely forgot it, Fitch Bradley. There's a funny joke where when he's given a crossbow, he's like, I don't know how to work this thing. And he runs off to the bathroom. And instead of actually going to the bathroom, it's revealed that he's actually in there looking up how to use a crossbow. That was a funny joke. And like I said, the first time Emily kills one of the maids, it's funny because it's like, wow, you're so like coked out that you don't realize that this is a woman with black hair in a black dress instead of a woman with blonde hair in a wedding dress. So it's funny. But then after the third one, it's like, okay, we get it. She's not good at the game. She kills the wrong people. Like, we get it. The joke kind of wore thin, even though it wasn't like there for a long time. Another thing they really did wrong, extremely wrong, was bringing up Satan. They just flat out say, Hail Satan, when they're about to sacrifice Grace for like the umpteenth time. That kills all sorts of conversation you can have about this movie. If they didn't say Hail Satan, obviously it seems like Mr. LaBelle is some satanic figure because, when you make a deal with somebody and in return you gotta do this, usually that's linked with Satan. But just flat out say it kills any speculation you could have. If they went with the stupid path they did where they do actually blow up, why did they blow up? Who is this Mr. LaBelle guy? How does he have that much influence on this situation that he can cause 6 people to explode like that? You know what I mean? It completely nullified any conversation, any speculation, any fan theory because it's just flat out in the open. It was Satan. And we all know who Satan is. I mean, of course, we can deduce that Mr. LaBelle is some satanic worshiper or spawn of Satan, but to just say it out loud kills any of that speculation because it's like, who's behind all this? Satan. There you go. There's your answer. How'd you come to that conclusion? They say it. I can't give any detailed discussion or conversation about it, try to come up with my own theory. Nope, it's just Satan. There it is. And the fact that they went with the exploding at the end also ticks me off. When they didn't initially explode, I was like, oh, yes, good. They're not going to go that route. And then they exploded. Why am I upset about that? Because this is a horror comedy. Let's get that, that genre out in the forefront so I can emphasize my point. This is a horror comedy. Why didn't it end like this? Dawn breaks. Aunt Helene opens the curtain. Everyone's like, oh shit, it's dawn. We're all going to die because we didn't kill Grace. And then nothing happens. What Alex, what Daniel, what Grace has been saying this whole movie, this is a crock of shit. This isn't real. No one's going to die. That's actually true. Mr. LaBelle was bluffing. Mr. LaBelle was wrong. Everything that's happened to other families who disobeyed Mr. LaBelle was all just a bunch of coincidences. And then Grace, snaps. You put me through all this crap on something you didn't even know was true? And then goes on like this psycho rampage and just goes and slashes and hacks all of them in the most comedic, over-the-top, gruesome, gory way. That's how a horror comedy should end. Not them all exploding. I think it would have been 10 times better if Grace just, like I said, hacks and slashes through the rest of the family members. She already did a number on Stevens and Becky. So just kill every single one of them. All the rest of them in like the most over-the-top fashion on planet Earth. That's how a horror comedy should end. And the fact that they were just like, all right, they all blew up. We were expecting that. Go against things that we weren't expecting to happen. You know what I mean? One thing I have to give the movie credit for is I'm very happy that they have Alex turn on Grace. You know, the whole motif in the movie was we need to get Alex back in the family, and Alex is always so adamant that if I had to choose between my family and Grace, I'm choosing Grace. And the family doesn't believe that he's, they don't believe him. They still think he's going to choose family at the end. So his, dedication to Grace as his wife is really put to the test. And we're expecting that strength that was built throughout the whole movie to last. And for him to turn on his family. But for him to turn on Grace, I definitely applaud them for that. Because that's out of nowhere and unexpected and perfect. Brilliant for the plot. Everything else, though, a little lackluster. The comedy was kind of weak in this film, like I said, except for the guy who with the crossbow. I keep forgetting his name. That's some real good jokes. And yeah, it's really great to see that they took that one risk because they missed out on so many more risks. But if, like I said, if they had to go that route with them blowing up, they shouldn't have been saying, "Hail Satan, hail Satan, hail Satan." If not even for the fact that that's overused. Like how many movies have we seen "Hail Satan, hail Satan, hail Satan"? It's easy to make Satan behind everything. We've seen that before. So to keep it vague and keep it just, simple enough that it's implied that Satan is involved, but not flat out stated to induce more conversation, that would have been so much better. Like I said, I'd rather prefer they didn't go with the whole blowing up route, but if they had to, I wish they could have, kept some anonymous qualities to who Mr. LaBelle is. And I know LaBelle all means the same thing, for Satan, but maybe they shouldn't have called him Mr. LaBelle. Call him something else. Don't call him something that's literally like, "Hi, I'm Satan." Call him something like Mr. Smith. That's just this casual random name, this generic name. It's like, well, then why does he have this much power? I don't know. I just think that there was a lot more room for discussion in this movie, and the risks that they could have taken didn't quite work with the routes that they took, and they should have gone a different route to possibly make it a little bit more thought-provoking. And I love having discussions with people about movies, but there's really no discussion to be had because it's literally revealed, like I said, that it's Satan. And I think that they just kind of dropped the ball there. The performances were fine. Don't get me wrong. Nothing about the performances in this movie were bad. Everyone did fantastic. One of my favorites being Aunt Helene. She's just so creepy. The actress who plays her. Very, very solid. But great performances had by all, especially Samara Weaving as Grace. Very, very strong performance. She's got a definite career ahead of her. And, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But, of course, I got to get to my final verdict, which, unfortunately for this movie, is going to be 1.5 stars out of 5. I know that seems a little harsh, but had they taken those risks that I was talking about, it would have boosted up to at least a 3.5. Because it would have been out of left field. And I just think the ending that we got didn't really match horror comedy. I think Grace really should have had just this hack slash moment, this complete snap of sanity, and just go around killing the rest of them after being like, "You put me through a night of hell. I have my hole in my hand, a gash in my back, I have dead body juice all over my body, my dress, my wedding dress is ruined." A wedding dress, that every woman who gets married wants to, keep and preserve, to have that memory, is now ruined, all because of this, and it's not even true? Yeah, and then she just goes on that would have been so much better. But I think I've ranted about this movie enough. Make sure you guys stay tuned next week for my 4th favorite film of all time. We're coming down to the wire, guys. We're almost at number 1. Yeah, so 4th film next week. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, all that fun stuff. Click the bell icon so you get notified when I upload next. And until next time, guys, that is a wrap.